Hello everyone, welcome to the GeoEcologist. I am Dr. Krishnanand and you have been watching my videos related to geography, environment and research methodology on my channel. In this session, we are going to learn about a very interesting fusion of two subjects, that is economics and geography together, called economic geography. So what is this interdisciplinary paper called economic geography? What is its nature, its characteristics, various approaches to study economic spaces across the world and India, and also the scope of economic geography we are going to learn in this session. But before we go ahead, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and do share the videos with others as well. So now let's learn about economic geography and introduce this concept of economics together with geography in this session. So first of all, before going to economics geography, its nature, its scope, various approaches, first begin with the economics. What is economics and what are the various concepts that we need to understand before actually knowing economic geography itself? So economy is basically what? It refers to an interrelated process. Now the first word here is interrelation. It means it's not a process that operates in isolation, rather it is interrelational in nature, right? So of what? Of production, circulation, exchange and consumption. So remember these four words: production, circulation, exchange and consumption are the key words, operating processes which are intertwined, interrelated together to form this entire system of economy, right? Through which wealth is generated, right? This definition is 2005 definition by Hudson, right? Now this is important. And apart from this, what is more important here? That it is through these processes that people strive to meet their material needs. They earn their living in the form of wages, profits or rent, right? So what does it signify? That economy is necessary for human being. That's why we are studying economic geography as a sub-branch of human geography, right? So it's important for people to earn material things to meet their material needs, right? Earning their living. It's important for livelihood. That's most important here. So first point, number one, that is production here. So what does production involve? It involves the combining land resources with capital, labor, technology, or what we say knowledge. Together, when we combine all these things, what is formed? The production is formed, right? So commonly known as the factors of production. So these are the factors of production: the land resources, the capital, labor, knowledge, technology that we say, right? So these together makes the production, or the factors of production together forms the production pillar of economy, right? So it relies on supply of resources primarily. So what we observe when we study resources or resource pattern across the world, we understand that resources are the prime builders or prime factors for economic development, isn't it? So resources are coming from nature, and when it is coming from nature, it means economic geography is related to environmental geography. That's what we say is economics and environment goes hand in hand. So meaning that economic activities have a direct impact on environment. And when they have a direct impact on environment, obviously it is important that we study them in geography as well, because environment is a core component of geography, right? So the second point here is the commodity factor, the commodity pillar. What is this commodity? When we say production, what do we produce is a commodity out of that. So what is this commodity? It can be defined as any product or service that is sold commercially, right? And it is the basic unit, basic functioning of economy. And according to Karl Marx, it was described as economic cell form. Basically, the cell is the building block of human body, if we say cellular level. So economically, if you see, the cell is what? The commodity is the cell of economy, right? In terms of capitalistic economy, what Marx described. So the modern economy involves the production and consumption of vast array of these commodities. That is important to consider here. Now, coming to human societies, their evolution, The tendency was to do what? To actually organize and structure these economic activities through ages, right from the sedentary agriculture, the subsistence agriculture, to today's world, that is commercial agriculture. Today, when we have developed so much in terms of industrialization, so right from those ages when people were hunter-gatherers and they started settling down and started practicing agriculture, from that economy to this economy of present, what we have done, we have organized, we have structured the economic activities through various modes of production. Now, here is the second word after factors of production, right? That is modes of production. So, what is this mode of production? How is it different from factor of production? So, these modes of production are what? They are defined as economic and social systems, right? Important is economic as well as social systems which determine how resources are deployed. So the key word here is how, right? Not what, but how they will be deployed. That method of deployment, that way of deployment is the mode, right? So how work is organized, how wealth is distributed. So this how factor is what we learn when we say modes of production. Right? So, economic historians have identified several number of modes of production. For example, if you look here, so principally the subsistence, then slavery, feudalism, capitalism, socialism, communism, several modes of production you can identify. And there are several multimodal production as well, where one or two different modes are fused together. That also is there in present context in today's world. So each of these creates a distinctive relationship between the main factors of production, that is land, labor, capital, technology, knowledge. So what does it do? The modes of production bridges the factors of production to form an entire economic system. That is important to understand. So for example, if you want to take it, capitalism. Now, it is clearly dominant mode of production in today's world if you see across, operating at an increasingly global scale, capitalistic mode of production. So, what does it signify? It signifies private ownership, right? Profit maximization, which is majorly the means of production here, that is factories, offices, equipment, money capital, so many things that is involved in capitalistic mode of production. Right? So compared to the earlier modes of production, what we observe here, production and consumption are often geographically separate under capitalism. Right? It means what? Production is happening somewhere else while consumption is happening somewhere else. Right? They are not happening together in terms of geography. It means in terms of locational attribute. Right? So if something is produced in, suppose, north of India, commodity is traveling all the way across the India and going to south of India where people are consuming it. Through what? Through the means of technology, through the means of advancement in transport. Isn't it? And in today's world where we have everything coming to our doorstep through home delivery system, what we observe, where what is produced does not matter anymore. In this capitalist mode of production, what matters is that the capital, that is the factory, the offices, the equipment, the human resources are working 24/7 to fetch you that particular product at your doorstep. What you need to do is spend money on it. Isn't it? So that's important. So thereby continuously creating and recreating. Now this is a factor to remember. Why we are looking into this example of capitalism? Because it continuously creates, recreates the definitions of spaces, right? Distinct spatial patterns across the globe it creates, isn't it? And here comes geography with it, right? Because of this particular mode of production, using various factors of production, what is it being done? Spatial patterns are created, unique spaces and places are created using these networks, using various factors of production in this particular mode of production, right? So every mode of production will lead to a different spatial arrangement, and this spatial arrangement is where geography lies, right? So with this we come to economic geography from economics, right? So if you look into this map, this is economic geography. What is it? It says countries grouped by United Nations on the basis of what? Economic development. So if you observe here, the red ones are least developed countries, right? Where do you see? Most of Africa's and some parts in Middle East and also in Southeast Asia, right? And then what we have is developing countries, and then we have economies in transition, and then we have developed countries, right, which is in green color. So what you observe in this colorful map, It tells us that there is a spatial pattern emerging out of the various factors of production used under particular mode of production, right? So factors of production, mode of production, giving us an global outlook of this pattern here. Right? So this global outlook that we see here, this global pattern that we see here is the resultant of that factors of production put under a different mode of production that we see in the today's world. Right? This is where economic geography comes into the picture, right? So now, when we have learnt about the function of economics and economic geography, it's now important to discuss that economic geography perspective is something which matters here, right? What is this economic geography perspective? What is the nature of economic geography? So economic geography is primarily concerned with these particular questions. Right? So what are the questions? The questions is the location and distribution of an economic activity. That is the first question. Then role of uneven geographical development. And the third one is the process of local and regional economic development. Three questions are asked under economic geography subject. Right? So one is the location and distribution of the activity. Then we have the role of geography in uneven distribution, spatial pattern of unevenness, isn't it? It's not even that we saw on the map. It's uneven. Somewhere you have development, somewhere you have underdevelopment, isn't it? And then what is this process operating behind it? Right, from local level to regional level to global level. What are the processes that are shaping up this particular pattern on the globe? Right? So to simplify, how can we understand? It asks basically the key questions of what, where, why, and so what, right? So this is four interesting questions that we answer in economic geography as a nature of economic geography. So what question is what? The type of economic activity. Where is obviously the geographical location. Why is requiring explanation? Because the processes needs to be understood. Why is it being produced at that particular point? Isn't it? For example, we have learnt about Weber's industrial location theory, right? The market, the raw material, and the location of the industry. So, you observe why a particular thing is located at a particular place, an economic activity. That is what is the third question. And the fourth one is, and if it is located, so what? What is the resultant, right? So, referring to the implications and consequences. That is the fourth important part where nature of economic geography is concerned in terms of arrangements and processes over space. Right? So, if some activity is there located at some particular place, what is the resultant of it? Right? That is what we study under economic geography as a nature of economic geography primarily. Then three key themes emerge out of it. Right? Now when we say themes, it means that economic geography subject matter can be branched into three major themes. So geographical distribution and location theme is one theme in which what is where that we answer, right? Where we can say empirical approach is concerned. Then to explain and understand these spatial distributions and patterns of economic activity is the second theme, right? Where why and how questions are answered. That is where functional and deterministic approaches are important. And the third one is the engagement with policy makers in government and private sector. That is the third aspect, the applied economic geography, right? In decision making, in implications, in implementations of economic policies, right? That is the third aspect. So geographers have also sought to outline how the economic geography of a particular country or a particular region of a particular space should be organized. It means how it should be spatially organized under spatial organization work. Right? So in perspectives on human geography, we talked about spatial analysis, spatial organization, right? This is essentially part of human geography where economic geography is concerned. This is the third major theme in economic geography, right? Now, let's understand the approaches to economic geography. So what is the major approach to economic geography? There are majorly 5 approaches to economic geography. And if you observe, since human geographers have begun to take questions of theory, philosophy and methodology, right? Since when? Since the advent of quantitative revolution in 1960s. 50s and 60s was the time when there was a huge rise of economic geography as a subject matter, as a methodology through quantitative analysis, quantitative tools, right? So we say Anglophone economic geography, right? Anglophone is what? It is the English controlled area or English speaking world, right? Especially there, the Anglophone countries, where you have this economic geography primarily understood as well as discussed and researched since 1960. So these approaches come from Anglophone countries of the world basically, right? So 5 influential approaches with distinct perspectives on what? On the question of geographically unequal livelihood possibilities. Right? So what are these 5 approaches? If you look here, this is a summary of approaches. You can note it down. First one is the locational theory approach. We have learnt about it in models and theories and laws in human geography. What was it? Central place theory, Lockean model, right? Also Weber's industrial location theory. So these are locational theory. Their premier position is their singularity, their location specific, right? So that is more important, that where is the location of raw material, where is the location of market, how are they connected. So locational attribute was the first approach in economic geography. Then comes the political economy approach. In contrast to this locational theory, remember the Marxist approach that came in 1960s and 70s, right? So we have the name David Harvey, who talked about social justice in economy, right? So what we learn here under Marxist approach, that it is political economy that is important, right? It's not just about factors of production, their location, rather modes of production. If it is a capitalist mode of production, obviously it's not going to create social justice. That was the argument under Marxist theories. So that was a second approach in economic geography. Then comes the cultural turn in 80s and 90s, right? Where 2 aspects of geography are seen as important. Which 2 aspects? Place and network between those places. So network based, right? So right in 80s and 90s, what we see, the emergence of globalization in the world through technological revolution, the networking, right? Outsourcing businesses. So places were created, new places were created through networking. So that was the third part, that is the cultural turn. Then comes the feminist approach alongside cultural turn, right? Where other social markers were also vital for economic production, right? Economic space creations, right? For example, gender, race, age, ableness, sexuality and location. Not just the commodity of production where it is produced and where it is consumed. So these facets were added under feminist geography. Then further, the 5th approach is geographic economies or geographical economies, which we say is coming from Paul Krugman's model, which is based on equilibrium approach. Now here is a very interesting approach. Just like physical geography had equilibrium theory, here also there is an equilibrium theory as geographical economy, the micro scale economy based on the factors of production and modes of production together with agglomeration and de-agglomeration. It means the combination of factors alongside the dispersal of the production factors, right? Together. So agglomeration economy and de-agglomeration economy, right? Together coming into a balance. Right? So some factors are centripetal in nature, some factors are centrifugal, going outwards. So it means that land, labor, technology, capital, all the factors of production is being concentrated into a special economic zone. And what does it produce? It produces newer technology, newer development, newer commodities, which is diffused out of it. It goes out. Right? So there is a balance between these 2 inward coming forces and outward going forces. This is the approach of geographical economies, which is the 5th approach in economic geography. So in total what we have is 5 approaches in economic geography coming from 1950s, 60s till now that we have seen. Right? So, scope of economic geography lies in its nature and approaches itself, right? So, economic geography can be divided into 4 major subfields where the future lies, where the scope of economic geography lies. For example, agricultural economics, agricultural geography, industrial economics, industrial geography, transport geography, development geography. These are the sub-facets or sub-branches of economic geography if you observe. Right? Different economic activities, their important attributes to be studied in given spaces from micro level to global level. Right? This is the scope of economic geography through sub-branching. Right? So economic geography in recent years has been primarily concerned with what? With understanding uneven economic development, which is the cause of worry for everybody around the world. Right? The poverty, the hunger, all these things are part of our sustainable development goals as well, right? Where you see the scope of economic geography. So focus of geographers, if you say, as for geography, has now been shifted from exploitation of resources to geography for human welfare. Right? This is the shift that we say, or we can say paradigm shift in economic geography. That is where the future lies, in welfare, in reducing the gaps between rich and poor, right? In sustainable economies, smart economies, right? That is the scope of economic geography. So now, when we have discussed about economics geography, its nature, approaches, and scope of economic geography in this session, in the sessions to come, we'll be talking more about different facets and aspects of economic geography. So stay tuned, stay safe, keep watching the series on economic geography. Best wishes to all of you.